What if I told you that one small country defeated not one, but three of the world's strongest powers? First the French, then the Japanese occupation, and finally the United States. The story of the Vietnam War is not just about battles and bombs, it is a story of colonialism, resistance, ideology, and unimaginable human suffering that changed the world forever. It all began in 1862, when France officially started taking control of Vietnam as part of French Indochina. The Vietnamese people faced harsh rule, heavy taxes, loss of land, and economic exploitation, which slowly created strong resistance against colonialism. During World War II, Japan occupied Vietnam while France weakened under Nazi control in Europe. In this chaotic period, revolutionary leader Ho Chi Minh formed the Viet Minh resistance movement to fight for Vietnam's independence. After Japan surrendered in 1945, Ho Chi Minh declared Vietnam independent, but France refused to leave, leading to the First Indochina War. For nearly 8 years, Vietnamese guerrilla fighters battled French forces through jungles and villages, until the shocking Vietnamese victory at Dien Bien Phu in 1954 forced France to withdraw. After the Geneva Accords, Vietnam was temporarily divided into North and South Vietnam. The Communist North was led by Ho Chi Minh, while the anti-communist South received support from the United States during the Cold War. America feared the spread of communism through Asia under the domino theory, so it became deeply involved in Vietnam. By the early 1960s, communist fighters known as the Viet Cong launched attacks in South Vietnam. And in 1964, the Gulf of Tonkin incident gave US President Lyndon B. Johnson the reason to massively expand American military involvement. Soon hundreds of thousands of American troops arrived in Vietnam. The war quickly turned brutal as the United States used helicopters, napalm bombs, and overwhelming firepower, while the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese army relied on guerrilla warfare, jungle ambushes, hidden tunnels, and surprise attacks. Villages were destroyed, civilians suffered horribly, and chemicals like Agent Orange caused long-term devastation to both people and the environment. In 1968, the Tet Offensive shocked the world when communist forces launched massive surprise attacks across South Vietnam, even reaching areas near the US Embassy in Saigon. Although America pushed the attacks back militarily, the offensive destroyed public trust because Americans realized the war was far from over. Massive anti-war protests spread across the United States as students, activists, and musicians demanded an end to the conflict. Meanwhile, the war expanded into Laos and Cambodia, causing even more destruction and suffering. Thousands of American soldiers died far from home, while millions of Vietnamese civilians remained trapped in the horrors of war. In 1969, President Richard Nixon introduced Vietnamization, a strategy to withdraw US troops while strengthening South Vietnam's army. Peace talks eventually led to the Paris Peace Accords in 1973, and most American forces withdrew. But the fighting inside Vietnam continued. Without strong American support, South Vietnam began collapsing rapidly. In 1975, North Vietnamese forces launched a final offensive, capturing city after city until communist tanks entered Saigon on April 30th, 1975, officially ending the Vietnam War and reuniting Vietnam under communist rule. Images of desperate evacuations from rooftops became symbols of America's defeat and the chaotic end of the war. The Vietnam War left behind enormous scars, with more than 3 million Vietnamese deaths and over 58,000 American soldiers killed, while countless others suffered physical and psychological trauma. The conflict changed global politics, weakened public trust in governments, and became one of the most controversial wars in modern history. But above all, the Vietnam War proved that even the world's greatest military powers can struggle against people fighting for their homeland, freedom, and independence.